Hello and welcome to Brain versus Heart. We're going to be addressing the topic that was posted on the core site called My Boyfriend Doesn't Hold Jobs, Has No Car, His Parents Pay for Everything, and I Pay for Most Things. I'm a single mom and it's becoming a turnoff. What should I do? Well, first of all, why are you with this person? There are a lot of times when people ask questions like this and you already know the answer. If you got with the person and you already knew they were like this, then you accepted them for who they were. By you hooking up with someone like this, you are saying that I'm okay with you as you are in this very moment. If you accepted the guy in this current state, then he's probably thinking, okay, we have an understanding. You took me like this, so it must mean that our understanding is that you pay for everything and I stay at home. Now, the question is, what does the guy bring to the relationship? If he's taking care of your kids, then this is going to sound really crass. And for people who are here who are INTJs and INFPs and you watch this, you know that I try to be very direct, but single mothers, it is very hard for you to find people to be dedicated because you have kids. It's one of those things that there is a real market value for women, and a lot of women don't like hearing that, but my ancestors taught the same thing. That's why they urge people, look, if you're going to have a family, if you want to have kids, you may not want to start when you're like 35, when there's a higher risk at failed pregnancies and more health concerns. That is the reason why women aren't generally alluring at ages 40. Doesn't mean that there aren't beautiful women at that age, but you're not really as fertile as you could be, so men are not going to be into that. And people at that age by that time have had kids already, which is something that most men don't want to deal with. Maybe in same-sex relationships it's a little different, but when it comes to hetero relationships with male and female, the males are going to look at that and say, I don't want to deal with that. I was in a relationship with my ex and he had a daughter and I loved her to pieces, but soon as I realized that, I was like, I don't know if I can do this long term. Just pick up where someone else left off and just immediately have the responsibility when I was still a kid myself. Like, that's just something that's not alluring to me, and that's a guy. If I as a woman don't want that and I don't want kids, why do I want to take on that person? I would want to start with a puppy that's small so I can form a bond with it. Not that you can't form a bond with a bigger child, but the thing is, when you're with that person, the child is always going to come first. At least the child should. It's just the way things are. So if the man is there and he's not doing any of these other things, he doesn't make as much as you, he doesn't hold a job, but you have the job, you basically came into that relationship saying, I am the man, or I will play the masculine role and you will play the feminine role. You stay at home with the kids, which is something I need. I trust you with the kids. I don't have to pay a babysitter. You do the dishes and you do the cleaning. If you guys have those understandings, then that's what you agreed to. But there is this thing with female biology where a lot of people will say, no, we're okay being independent and we're okay not wanting men. But at our core, instinctively, there are certain roles that we fall into more naturally. There are outliers of this, of course, because I know people are going to be like, it's not every female, you're right. But in general, the majority of them are like this. Men, or majority the providers, they feel natural in that role. Females are nurturers. They feel natural in that role, and the two come together and make a mean machine. So, if you are a female with kids and you see that your man doesn't have these things, you went into it knowing that this was the case. So you wasted your time and the guy's time, and honestly, probably hurt your kids in the process because they might have bonded with this person. And you need to start considering right off the bat what it is you want before you get into relationships. This is a mistake that a lot of us girls make early on in our lives when we're like in middle school and high school. But by the time we get out of college, you're supposed to know what you want. You probably would have gone through a whole bunch of heartaches to know and have the experience that if I'm with a guy and he is a specific way, it is ludicrous for me to try and change that person. They are the way they are now because that's the way they are. And just like you don't want men trying to change you as a woman when they meet you, you shouldn't try doing the same thing. I think that's why a lot of people get into these relationships expecting or hoping that the guy is going to somehow change. When all of the sex hormones wear off, then they're left with what was always there in the beginning. So if you're not happy with that relationship, get out of it, but that is what you asked for. Going forward, look for someone who is more average, Don't put your bars way too high so it's unachievable, and be grateful for someone who does have a job that can help you out with the kids. If it becomes harder to find someone like that who is willing to sit home with the kids, who doesn't have exactly what you want him to have, you're going to start to weigh the pros and the cons. Do you want someone who maybe there's a lower percent of a chance of finding this kind of person that would want you with kids or with your child? That is a good person, has a fantastic job, is really good looking, but there's a really, really, really slim chance of getting that person? Or do you choose B, the pool with a whole bunch of average people who may have trade jobs, which are honestly, those are good jobs, that don't make what you expect them to make, don't have the best car, but they are willing to take care of another man's kids with you who is older? That is something that you have to consider. And if the odds are not in your favor and you're not having that much luck, then maybe you can try same-sex relationships. Anyways, I hope that helps. If you guys have any other questions or suggestions, just leave in the comments and we'll see you in the next video.